just going to record this session just in case, and for anyone that couldn't make it, they can watch the recording. And so thank you guys for coming out today. My name is Whitney Kyles, and I'm the firm's Lexis trainer. So if you ever have questions on how to search efficiently on Lexis, or if you have any questions about what's in your plan, I can certainly answer those questions for you. At the end of the webinar session, I will send you guys a follow-up email that just kind of goes over what we went over today. And then I will also place that request so you guys can get your Amazon gift cards. Now, with Lexis Plus, if you've never really used the tool, or if you have used the tool but still are kind of dabbling with all that's included in it, essentially what it is it takes legal research, think cases and statutes, and it also incorporates practical guidance, which is more for transaction-based attorneys. And it also incorporates Law 360 as well as litigation analytics. So prior to Lexis Plus, a lot of the analytics and practical guidance, those were all separate products that you would have to subscribe to. Now it's all rolled into one. In Lexis Plus, it's divided into different research experience modules. So you'll notice that when you first log into Lexis Plus, you have different research experience modules here on the side. Now, if you're looking to conduct traditional research, such as cases and statutes, for example, you'll want to start within legal research. If you're looking to access practice notes, sample templates, checklists, clauses, practical guidance is where you'll go for that. Litigation analytics is great if you're looking for a profile on attorneys, law firms, courts, judges. You can even compare multiple entities at one time. We'll go into this further in a moment. You also have access to brief analysis. Brief analysis is a great tool if you want to upload a document that could be Word or PDF. Essentially, you can get case recommendations, you can get your quotes checked, and it also performs other services. And then last but not least, you have Legal News Hub, which is where Law 360 is housed, including Law 360 Pulse, which the firm subscribes to both of those. So let's first start with legal research. So you'll notice that the homepage looks fairly similar to the homepage on regular Lexis. We did this on purpose because we didn't want there to be such a learning curve. We still wanted you to be able to seamlessly conduct your legal research. You still have your main search box here. You have your two filtering options that you can select before you run the search. If I scroll further down though, I do want to talk a little bit about the Explore content box, just because from my experience, it gets heavily underutilized. And so depending on your practice area within the firm, you'll notice that there is a practice area tab. And if you select it and scroll down, there's a link here called View Our Practice Centers. Now, practice centers are just another word for homepage. And essentially what you can do is you can go to your practice area homepage that will have all of your primary and secondary law content. So within the firm practice areas, we do have bankruptcy, we have commercial, we also have the different IP practice areas such as copyright, trademark, and patent. And we have healthcare as well. So just wanted to point those out. If I were to go into bankruptcy as an example, you'll notice that bankruptcy law will be posted up here at the top. You have your main search box. So any searches that any search queries that you run in here will already be tailored toward bankruptcy law. If I scroll down, you can find all your sources per content type listed. And then let's say if you want to search through one source or multiple sources at a time, what you can do is you can either select the applicable one source you want to search at one time, or you can select sources to search, and you can actually manually select which sources you want to search through. Those sources will populate up here at the top. Next, you just put your search query in, and then you can search within the selected sources only. Now, if you find that starting your research makes the most sense by going to one of these practice areas, you can actually make this your research start page by selecting this home icon. Another thing I want to point out is if you like to do topic-based searching, then there's really two ways of how you can access that. You can either be within your applicable practice area, practice center page, and then navigate to the browse topics option. And so if you go through it this way, you'll notice it'll take the main topics within your practice area, break it down into subsections. And then next you would just click on the applicable subsection, and it will take you to all the content types that discuss that subsection. If you're not within our practice centers, you can also access topics by just being on the main homepage. Next, select topics, and then you can access your practice area and then see the subtopics broken down in this way. So those are practice centers. And once again, those are going to be located in the Explore content box. You just want to hit practice area and then navigate down to the bottom until you get to view our practice centers. Now, in terms of searching, we have added what's called Lexis answers. And so I'm sure you've noticed that as you're typing in search queries into the search box, you have suggestions that populate below. Now, based on what you're typing though, if I scroll down, we have suggested questions. Now, suggested questions appeared before, but the Lexis answers is what is new. And so I can see that just by typing in bankruptcy, here are some of the suggested questions. Before I click on a suggested question, I just want to point out that if I add in an additional term, it will then start showing you questions that also mention those additional terms. And so essentially what you do, if you see a question in here that you want to get the answer to, you just click on the suggested question. And then you will be brought to your answers first. And answers, they have not been tailored to a jurisdiction yet. And so let's say if I want to narrow my answers down to Delaware, then I can come over here to where the court filter is, go to the state specific court filter, select Delaware. And now all of the answers will be tailored for Delaware. Here we go. All right. And so this is just a huge time saver because it shows you the applicable law and it previews the answer right here for you. And then once you scroll past the answers, you have your results list, just like before. And then depending on your preference, just know that you can sort your results by clicking sort by, and then you can choose your applicable preference. Next, what I'd like to touch upon is statutes. So if you're doing any type of statute-based research, let's say you're having to compare 2-year versions of a statute to determine the language differences, we have built in a feature called Code Compare within our statutes that does that work for you. And so for this example, I'm just going to plug in a statute citation. Apologies, my computer's running a little slow. Okay, here we go. So once you're inside any statute in Lexis Plus now, you'll notice that there's this big button on the side that says compare versions. And when you click compare versions, you'll notice up here at the top, you can select any 2 applicable years. And so for this example, I'm just going to leave the 2 different days within the same year selected. I can see that there's been 3 additions and 1 deletion. And by default, it's put me into the side-by-side view. Now with the side-by-side view, just how it sounds, it'll have your two date versions next to each other. Next, you have your heat bar, which will show you where the additions and deletions have occurred. And so I can see that on December 27th of last year, this whole paragraph was added versus the day before, that paragraph was not included. And so you can see that instead of having to, go through the statute verbatim and decipher the language, this does it for you within a few seconds. If you prefer to see the changes on one page, you do have that option by selecting overlay view. Once again, that heat bar is still here. So you can just quickly jump to the additions in green or the deletions in red. So that is compare versions. And once again, that will be included in all of the statutes in Lexis Plus. Now, if I go back out to the home page, let's say we're looking for non-traditional research, more guidance type materials. The firm does subscribe to practical guidance. And specifically, the firm subscribes to corporate and M&A. So when you go to this module through your ID, you'll see this module as being available to you. And so if I click on corporate and M&A, there's a couple ways of how to go about searching in here. The first way is to type in your search terms here. Once again, it's already tailored to this practice area. Second way is to come down to topics and tasks. So this will be the major topics or tasks within corporate and M&A. If you go into any of these, it will essentially break down how many practice notes, sample templates, clauses, etc. exist for this particular topic or task. You also have filtering options depending on how many results, just to make it more efficient for you. Since the firm is primarily housed in Delaware, what you could also do is once you're in the corporate and M&A practice or practical guidance module, if you scroll down and come to browse by, you can click on state and federal, and then we can locate Delaware. And now I can just preview all the Delaware content within all of corporate and M&A. With our practice notes, they're written by practitioners such as yourselves from top law firms such as yourselves. So they're very current. And once again, they're written by people that are actually in your area of law practicing. With our templates, just kind of preview what a template can look like. And so you'll notice that within a sample template, we include drafting notes. So if you want to see why a particular paragraph is in a simple template, the drafting note provides that explanation for you. We also offer alternate and optional clauses. So if you want to see all the different clause options, you can get access to that within our sample templates as well. And then also want to point out that once you've made the necessary changes within your sample template, you can come over here to the About This Document box, and now you can actually open the form in Word document. And then as you can see on the screen, you can also access your drafting notes here on the side, as well as your alternate and optional clauses that go with this particular sample template. So now let me go back out to the home page. Something else to keep in mind that you can do with practical guidance is we have a tools and resource box over here on the side. And let's say you want to get some primary law rather quickly concerning corporate and M&A. What you'd want to do is go to State Law Comparison Tool. And once again, the firm subscribes to corporate and M&A, so this will be the option that's available to you. And then within topic, these are the different topics where you can get primary law on. So let's say if I want to find out information on LLCs regarding mergers, these are all the applicable jurisdictions where I can get that primary law very quickly. So if I only care about Delaware, I can select Delaware. but of course I can select as many jurisdictions in here as I want. Next, I would hit continue. And then these are the questions that the system can answer for you within a few seconds. Let's say I want all these questions answered. Next, I'll select download report, select my report formatting option. And then it just takes a couple of seconds. And now, as you can see, we have our report that first starts with our table of contents. So these are all the questions that we wanted answered for Delaware only. Once we get past the table of contents, we're now brought to our answers. And so you first have your initial question up here at the top, your applicable jurisdiction, and then you have your answer with hyperlinks into the applicable primary law if you want to see it in full context. So that is state law comparison tool, and that's just an example of how you can use it. Now, let's go back out into Lexis Plus homepage, and let's briefly discuss litigation analytics. So with litigation analytics, this essentially will profile law firms, judges, courts, attorneys that do work in the trial courts of this country and federal district court. This isn't going to include appellate or Supreme Court, and this is pulling information from civil dockets. And so there's 3 ways of how you can search in here. The first way is you can type in an entity in the search box, and it'll say within here too what you can put in. So court, judge, attorney, or law firm. If you want to search multiple entities at one time, you can compare courts and judges between 2 to 4 courts and judges at the same time. Or you can compare between 2 and 4 law firms and attorneys at one time. So for this example, I'm actually going to put in the law firm. As the entity to search. And then I'll select this first option. And so sticking within the federal tab, you'll notice that we can get a snapshot of all the different practice areas. We can tell how many of these particular cases by type are open, terminated, and then in total. If I were to click the hyperlink out to any of these numbers next to the practice areas, this will actually take us into Lex Machina, which will provide us with an even deeper dive of analytics, such as we can get a summary of those cases, as well as a case list. Not only can you find out a law firm's practice area, which practice areas they tend to be covering in federal court, but you can also get an idea of their workload by year. You can also see the major courts that the firm is involved in. You can get an idea of their top clients by open cases, who they're typically party to. And then next we have time to key events. So time to key events is going to include like motions such as motion to dismiss, motion for summary judgment. Essentially what you're looking at though is that out of the 548 motion to dismisses, these numbers give you averages on how long it takes before those motion to dismisses are decided on. So the earliest is 171 days. The average is 324 days. And the latest amount of days is 498. So the nice thing about seeing these time averages is it can help you plan how much time and or cost a particular case is going to be, depending on the type of motion that you plan to file, or whether or not you want to go to trial, or how long it even takes before cases are terminated. And then we also have damages. And once again, if you click on any of the numbers in litigation analytics, this will take you out to Lex Machina. which gives you an even further detailed analytics of those cases that you're looking at. And the next, there's also a state tab. And I do point this one out because if you ever have questions about the data that litigation analytics is pulling, there is a link within the state tab that says learn more about this data, and it goes through the coverage in regards to what it's pulling. And so that is essentially litigation analytics. Now let's take a look at brief analysis. So brief analysis is great if you want to make sure you haven't missed anything in your own brief, or if you want to analyze opposing counsel's brief. What's nice too about brief analysis is you can upload one brief at a time, or you can compare multiple briefs. If you compare multiple briefs, you will need to separate them by either plaintiff or defendant, so just FYI. And so for this example, we're just going to look at a single brief, and you can upload, as mentioned a few seconds ago, Word or PDF, and anything that you upload into the system stays confidential to your ID. Now, once you've uploaded your brief, you'll notice that you're brought to your dashboard. Your dashboard is essentially a snapshot of all the services that brief analysis will do for you. If I go to recommendations, for example, this is where you can find cases that support a paragraph within your uploaded document. And so, for example, this paragraph right here has 20 recommendations. I can see 10 of those recommendations are from cases, and it actually provides you with the relevant passage as well as the outcome from that recommended case. You also can get recommendations from practical guidance, so practice notes, things of that nature, as well as treatises. So these recommendations, once again, they can help you add more additional support to your own materials, or it can even be a way to preview opposing counsel's brief and see if they've missed anything. You also have similar briefs. So if you want to see what other people have written, not have to entirely reinvent the wheel, this will pull similar briefs based off the language in your own brief. You can also get a list of documents that are cited to in your uploaded document. What's nice about this is if, let's say, opposing counsel sends you something and you want to retrieve all the documents that they have cited to, all you have to do now is hit this box right here. It will select every single citation that's mentioned. And now you can decide if you either want to save it to a folder, print, email, or download. And then last but not least, you have access to quote check. What's great about quote check is you can double check your work as well as opposing counsel's work in terms of, are they using the right language with the citation that they're referring to? If they aren't using the right language, then the system will retrieve what the right language should say for you. And then, of course, with brief analysis, you can actually download your report. And so that, as you can see, covers a lot of different services based off of either your work or opposing counsel's work. And then finally, we have Legal News Hub. So with Legal News Hub, as mentioned earlier, it's going to house Law 360 as well as Law 360 Pulse. If you're not familiar with Law 360, essentially what it is it provides you with the most current and daily legal news, either based on your jurisdiction or practice area. If I select the More tab up here you can find an exhaustive list of all the different legal news categories that you can start following. You can even subscribe to a newsletter. So if you prefer to be updated through email, All you have to do is hit subscribe to newsletter, put in your information, and now you'll start receiving your news through email. In terms of Law 360 Pulse, this is more so good news content if you're looking for business development. Maybe you're looking to approach a particular litigant, for example, or if you're just looking for ways of how other law firms go about the actual business side of things, this is what Law 360 Pulse will offer you. And so I did mute everyone, but we have a couple minutes left. So if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask those questions now. All right. Well, I will send you guys a follow-up email. It will also include this recording. And then once again, if you have any questions about how to do something specific to your practice area, in that follow-up email, all my contact information will be in there. Please do not hesitate to shoot me an email or give me a phone call. More than happy to assist you guys. And with that, I will give you back 2 minutes, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Whitney.
Thank you.